Monday morning of the fifth week of Lent. This is a great text today. I guess you see always the confrontation in the text now, right to the end of Lent, into Easter, and the setup is the confrontation between Christ and the Pharisees. You can see he's heading to Jerusalem, and it's because he broke the law. Christ, in some sense, goes beyond the law. He gets himself crucified, gets himself killed because he was a threat. He was a threat to the very social structure of the Jewish people because he was transcending the law. He made himself greater than the law. You have to understand the law was the great gift of Moses, and it binds the Jewish community together. They're not wrong. In that sense, they're not wrong. He was a threat to the law because he said he was greater than the law, you see. And you have it right here in the text in the gospel. See, in the book of Deuteronomy, you say, you keep the law and the law will keep you. God will keep you. You'll have the land. You see, that law is crucial. The Mosaic law is crucial to the identity of Judaism. It's crucial to it. It's essential to it. Christ transcends that. See, the Jewish law is a tribal law, beautiful and powerful and divinely revealed, taking nothing away from it. So genius. If nothing else, Moses was a genius of a leader, and the Jewish reflective mind cannot be compared. Brilliant, you see. Anyway, but Christ transcends that. We're a global religion. We are Christians. We are not committed to the land or to the law. We go beyond it because Christ fulfills the law. And in the text today, this is a great story of Christ confronting the Pharisees, because what the story, it's a famous story. I'll read it to you. He said, it's from John's Gospel, and always in John's Gospel, you see the transcendence of love over law. Christ over Judaism. And John was a Jew. He understood the fullness of who and what is Christ and who and what are Christians. John especially sees that, okay? The church is born out of the side of Christ on the cross. John's a genius, a religious genius. I'd say comparable to Moses, okay? When you look at John, you're looking at the fullness of the divine revelation of who and what is Christ. See? Anyway, he says early in the morning, he's at the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning, he arrived again in the temple area, and all the people started coming to him, and he sat down and taught them. Now, then the scribes and Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery and made her stand in the middle. And they said to her, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now, in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. What do you have to say?" They said this to test him, so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and began to write on the ground with his finger. But when they continued to ask him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone." Go ahead. Again, he bent down and wrote on the ground, and in response, they all went away, one by one, beginning with the elders. So he was left alone with the woman before him. And Jesus straightened up and he said to her, "Woman, where are they? No one here to condemn you?" She said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you, but go, and from now on, don't sin anymore." He's not saying she was right. He's not a liberal. She deserved to be stoned by the ancient Mosaic law because she did violence to the marital bond, which is fundamental to the social order. See? She had it come. I don't know about the guys that were having an adulterous relationship with her. I'm not justifying anything, okay? But she was by Mosaic law guilty. So Christ is not saying to her, "You're not guilty." He says, "I'm not going to condemn you." Okay? I'm not going to condemn you. And he writes in the sand. And what he's really going is against the accusers. Maybe what he's saying is, as you judge, so shall you be judged. See? I get a kick out of it. In one regard, I'm not trying to be anything, but I have to say, I always think of the kids in the neighborhood, because especially my cousin, God rest him, my cousin Harry. He had more wisdom in his toenails than I'll ever have. Okay, he was as street smart as they came. He said he knew what they were writing on the thing. My cousin Harry knew. He explained it to me. I don't know if we were 9 years old or 10, whatever, 12. I got a kick out of that. I say all the Italian kids in the neighborhood knew what he was writing. Forget about the others. I love to tease them, my Irish classmates. It took you to 30 years old before you could have figured out. The Italian kids were born with 15 years experience. I made that. I didn't make that up. One of my passionate colleagues and brothers, Nicholas Zitz, said that about me. We were in the retreat team together in Baltimore, and he said, trying to get people to go to confession to me. He didn't want to hear them all. He says, Vitaly is just ordained. He said, but the Italians are born with 15 years experience. Nick was so street smart. Anyway, it's a beautiful text here, okay? He's not saying to her, come on, he's not a liberal. Christ's not a liberal. He sees the law, but he transcends the law. He sees the compassion, compassio, fellow suffering that brings about love, is what the purpose of the law is. And I have to say this in the next few minutes I got left here. I would have been with the Pharisees. I was so rigoristic when I was a boy, a young kid growing up. I mean, God Almighty. Even when I joined the outfit, the order, I was a rigorist. The order broke me of that. It taught me to see the love of Christ, not the divine command, as it were. It took the fear of God out of me. It replaced it with the love of God and the love of Christ. I have deep trust in the love of Christ for me. Not my innocence. I'm not innocent at all. But I trust the divine compassion. I'm a passionist. I look at the cross. I start with the cross and come back to the cross of Christ. I see incarnate love on the cross. And I trust his love. That's the truth. And the order taught me to see that and believe it, because we are passionists. We begin and end our meditations with the crucified and loving Christ. I believe that. Doesn't justify sin, but it transcends it in compassion. And I hope that I have the spirit of the passionist in my soul and heart as I enter, for instance, in the compassionate ministry of confession, hearing confessions, or whatever it may be. The passionists taught me to see the suffering of humanity with compassion, not judgment, not isolated judgment. Judging in order to free, but never to condemn. He frees the woman. He doesn't condemn her. He frees her. And the role of the church is to bring freedom to the human heart and soul through the sacraments, through the preaching of the church, not to condemn the world, but to free it from its depravities, its enslavement to sin and self-destruction. I believe that. I believe that in my teaching in this class, in school. I do. When I try to teach the virtues in my ethics classes, to free them so that they can live a better and richer life. That's the truth. I learned that in the order. I'm so grateful that God called me to be a passionist, and I was a great passionist. Not innocent men, redeemed men, redeemed. And they taught me to see redemption through love, the passionate and the compassionate love of Christ on the cross. He is compassionate, and his passionate love for us insofar as he died for us. I mean that. I'm so grateful I'm a passionist. I'm so grateful for my vocation, that I was led by my fellow passionists to see the crucified Christ and the crucified and loving Christ, and hence to be able to see myself with the compassion that Christ has for the woman, and to see the world around me in that manner. And I see my vocation as someone who brings the compassion of a crucified Christ to the wounded of the world, the sinful, wounded of the world, not to condemn, but to redeem and to free.